The conquest of Anagol and its surrounding cities marked a decisive chapter in the early expansion of the Ottoman polity, confirming the transformation of a frontier beylik into a territorially rooted state. Led by Osman the Mart, Ottoman forces capitalized on a blend of military pressure, local alliances, and administrative foresight to secure Anagol with the support of segments of its population. The capture completed a sequence of 3 critical town conquests, consolidating control over a strategic corridor and establishing lasting dominance across the region. By the time Ottoman banners appeared before Anagol, the balance of power in northwestern Anatolia had already begun to tilt. Earlier victories had weakened imperial defenses and disrupted established supply lines, leaving garrisons isolated and administrators uncertain. Anagol, positioned amid fertile lands and vital routes linking inland settlements to the wider frontier, had long served as a hub of local governance and commerce. Its fate would determine whether Ottoman gains remained fragmented or coalesced into a contiguous domain. What distinguished the operation at Anagol was the role of local support. Years of instability, burdensome taxation, and diminishing protection had eroded confidence in imperial authority. Merchants, farmers, and town elders weighed their prospects carefully. Ottoman envoys and intermediaries emphasized guarantees of safety, continuity of trade, and respect for local customs. These assurances resonated with communities eager for stability after prolonged uncertainty. When Ottoman forces advanced, resistance was limited, shaped as much by negotiation as by arms. The entry into Anagol unfolded with speed and discipline. Rather than a destructive assault, the takeover prioritized order. Gates were secured, key administrative points occupied, and markets protected from looting. This approach sent a clear signal that conquest did not mean chaos. Within days, normal life resumed under new oversight, reinforcing the perception that alignment with Osman's authority offered tangible benefits. The town's incorporation was not merely a military event, but a political transition. With Anagol secured, attention turned to neighboring settlements whose fortunes were closely tied to the city. These surrounding towns, already affected by shifting trade patterns and the collapse of regional coordination, faced stark choices. Some negotiated surrender, others offered provisions or intelligence, and a few attempted resistance that quickly faltered without external support. The fall of Anagol removed the last credible anchor of opposition in the area, making further resistance impractical. Administratively, the Ottomans moved swiftly to integrate the new territories. Tax registers were assessed, land rights acknowledged, and local notables retained where possible. This continuity reduced friction and ensured a steady flow of revenue. Roads were secured to protect caravans, linking agricultural producers to markets and strengthening the economic base of the emerging state. Each measure reinforced the sense that the new order was durable and predictable. The completion of 3 key town conquests reshaped the strategic landscape. What had once been isolated victories now formed a coherent territorial bloc, enabling coordinated defense and efficient governance. Control over Anagol and its surroundings allowed Ottoman commanders to move forces rapidly, respond to threats, and project authority deeper into contested zones. It also deprived remaining imperial enclaves of access to resources and manpower, hastening their decline. For the local population, the transition brought both relief and adjustment. Taxes were recalibrated, obligations clarified, and security improved along rural routes that had suffered from raids and banditry. Farmers benefited from reduced uncertainty, while artisans found new markets as trade revived. The promise of order proved persuasive, binding communities to the Ottoman administration not through fear alone, but through shared interests. News of Anagol's fall spread quickly across the frontier. To allies, it confirmed the momentum of Osman's leadership. To rivals, it underscored the risks of isolation and delay. The psychological impact was significant. If a town of Anagal's stature could change hands with local cooperation, then the frontier's future was no longer in doubt. Perception, as much as force, drove subsequent alignments. The role of leadership was central to this outcome. Osman's ability to balance firmness with accommodation distinguished his approach from purely predatory warfare. Military success opened doors, but political judgment kept them open. By aligning conquest with governance, he ensured that newly captured towns became assets rather than liabilities. Each success reinforced administrative capacity, creating a virtuous cycle of expansion and consolidation. Economically, the gains were immediate and lasting. Agricultural output from the surrounding countryside flowed into Ottoman-controlled markets, while tolls and levies supported further campaigns. The stabilization of routes encouraged merchants to return, linking Anagal to a broader commercial network. This economic integration underpinned military readiness, ensuring that future operations were sustained by local resources rather than distant supply lines. From a broader perspective, the conquest of Anagal completed a phase of state formation. The capture of 3 key towns provided the territorial coherence necessary for durable rule. It marked a shift from opportunistic raids to deliberate consolidation, signaling that the Ottomans were building a state rather than merely winning battles. The frontier was no longer a patchwork of contested points, but an increasingly unified domain. Opposition forces struggled to respond. Deprived of coordinated leadership and facing communities unwilling to endure renewed conflict, attempts to reclaim lost ground faltered. The loss of Anagal disrupted communication and morale, leaving remaining strongholds isolated. Over time, these enclaves either negotiated their own accommodation or succumbed to the same pressures that had undone Anagal. In historical memory, the episode stands as a testament to the power of combined strategy. Military capability provided leverage, local support supplied legitimacy, and administrative action ensured permanence. The conquest was not an end, but a foundation, upon which further advances would be built. It demonstrated that dominance could be secured not only by the sword, but by the careful management of people and places. As the region settled under new authority, the significance of Anagal's incorporation became clearer. It anchored Ottoman control, secured vital routes, and completed a triad of town conquests that redefined the balance of power. What followed would be expansion on a larger scale, but the principles applied at Anagal, measured force, alliance with locals, and swift integration, would remain central to Ottoman success. In sum, the conquest of Anagal and its surrounding cities was a watershed moment. It completed a strategic sequence, ensured regional dominance, and showcased a model of expansion that fused conquest with governance. For contemporaries, it signaled the arrival of a new political reality. For history, it marked the steady emergence of a state poised to shape the future of the region.